On July 1st, Israel is set to begin the annexation of as much as 30% of the West Bank. This move violates multiple international laws and treaties and has been met with widespread protests. Yet, the new Israeli government of Benjamin Netanyahu, backed by former General Benny Gantz, has declared it will proceed with the annexation plan. So what does this annexation plan entail? The exact details are not public yet, but most of the areas annexed will be in what is called Area C of the occupied West Bank. As per the Oslo Accords of 1995, Area C comprises almost 60% of the West Bank and is under full administrative and security control of Israel. Israel's annexation plan will see it take over at least 50% of this Area C. Area C is also where most of the illegal Israeli settlements have been built since the Israeli occupation in 1967. The Zionist entity also plans to annex the Jordan Valley. The valley which borders the state of Jordan is rich and fertile with permanent source of water through the River Jordan. The Zionist project has encouraged settlers to build illegal settlements and even outposts in the occupied West Bank, often evicting Palestinians who have lived on the land for centuries. Its annexation plan involves taking over the land on which these settlements are located. This plan also corresponds to the so-called Deal of the Century announced by US President Donald Trump in January this year. As per Trump's plan, the remaining 50% of Area C will not be available for any construction, suggesting that Palestinians will ultimately have to give up 60% of the West Bank. The fate of more than 65,000 Palestinians living in the Jordan Valley and that of their farmlands is even more unclear. If not expelled, in all likelihood, they will be treated as second-class citizens. This annexation is illegal according to the 4th Geneva Convention of 1949, to which Israel is a signatory. According to it, no occupying power can transfer its own civilian population into the occupied territories. It cannot annex, nor can it build any permanent structure. In preparation for this colonial annexation, the number of illegal detentions of Palestinians has seen an unprecedented rise. Throughout this process, Israel has been strongly backed by the imperialist US. There has been widespread opposition to the plan, both in Palestine and abroad. Palestinian people's movements have denounced the latest Zionist aggression as an attempt to exterminate the Palestinian cause and terminate the historic rights of the Palestinian people. Palestinian organizations have called for broad unity against the imperialist US Zionist attacks, and many have called for a third intifada. Michael Link, the UN Special Rapporteur of Human Rights in the occupied territories, has called Israel's plan a 21st century apartheid. He has called on the international community to review its extensive menu of sanctions and countermeasures to stem this march towards further illegality, emphasizing there has to be a cost to the defiance of international law. A group of nearly 50 UN human rights experts also condemned the plan, saying that Palestinians would be left with nothing more than a Bantustan, ending all hopes for an independent, viable, and contiguous Palestinian state. People's movements in the world engaged in anti-imperialist struggle condemn this colonial plan, which threatens the right of the Palestinian people to exist. We express our unconditional solidarity with the Palestinian people and its right to struggle against the occupation by all legitimate means. We call upon all the peoples of the world and all anti-imperialist movement to support the right of Palestinian people for self-determination, to mobilize against the deal of the century, the annexation plan, and all the imperialist actions which target our peoples.